Hello everybody, my name is Luke Marr and this is HauteLeMode, and today on HauteLeMode we are going to be talking about one of the baddest fashion icons in the game, bad gal Riri herself. Now, Rihanna is one of the most famous singers, actresses, and fashion icons in the world, but there are rumors and mumblings that she may actually become one of the most famous fashion designers in the world. Interesting. Now, before we get any further into the video, if you guys are looking for a channel that talks about fashion in the most fun, sassy, bitchy, analytical way, this is it. So you can go down below, hit the subscribe button, and turn on my post notifications. I mean, like, what do you have to lose? You're already suckered into this Rihanna clickbait video, so just hit the subscribe button. And if you guys want to see more from me, you can follow me on Instagram at HauteLeMode, where I post some pretty poppin' fashion memes, and also HauteLeMess if you're looking for more of my personal style and rants. Getting back into the video, now one of the reasons that we're even talking about Rihanna and the idea of her having her own luxury brand is because she was photographed paparazzi style out and about in New York City, but she was wearing a pair of sunglasses that could not be identified by any of the Rihanna style identification accounts on Instagram. But apparently on the temple of the sunglasses, which are these like kind of really cute, chic, chrome plated moment, it said Fenty. Now, if you know anything about Rihanna and fashion, you know that Fenty is the name that she has used for almost every single one of her brands. But as soon as people saw the word Fenty, the rumor mill was churning. And there was a deep dive into whether or not Rihanna would actually be coming out with a luxury fashion label. Let's do a little history on Rihanna's contributions to the fashion industry. First, let's talk about in 2014, she pretty much banged herself right onto the fashion scene and started to really turn out looks that nobody else was even trying. This is in part thanks to her stylist, Mel Ottenberg, who has been helping her to turn out these legendary looks that we've been looking back on for years. And along the way, she has introduced us to some of the newest and coolest brands. Whether it's Y Project, Matthew Adams Dolan, or Molly Goddard, Rihanna has delivered looks that nobody else could ever pull off. And one of the most interesting things about Rihanna is that mainstream people who don't know anything about fashion see that the looks are crazy and will often say, well, it's Rihanna. She's the only person that can pull it off. And I mean, like, that's true, but Rihanna has sort of made crazy fashion also mainstream. All while she's still a fashion icon serving looks, she also became the creative director of Fenty x Puma. Yeah, Puma, the shoe brand, essentially was like, hey Rihanna, come do a label for us. And she was like, cool, sure. It really wasn't like any fashion brand that had come before it. Yes, it was similar to something like Yeezy, but Rihanna was delivering one of the most anticipated and exciting shows of New York Fashion Week every single season. None of the shows were repetitive, they were semi-affordable and often sold out really, really well. The inspirations for the collections varied from Rihanna's take on her school uniform and a whole motocross experience. Now, you can try and tell me that Rihanna on the back of a motocross bike is not the best designer bow in history, but you'd be wrong. Eventually, the shows just sort of stopped and nobody really knew why. We just knew that Rihanna wasn't showing, and I honestly was really upset every single season that we missed out on an amazing show. But Rihanna had something else in the works. While it's not exactly fashion, Fenty Beauty sort of took the world by storm. Now, I don't know a lot about makeup, example A, but Fenty Beauty essentially changed the beauty standard. Normally, makeup companies pretty much only cater to a very white audience. Rihanna debuted a wide array of colors for darker women, and that was revolutionary. Should that be revolutionary? No, but like, the world is fucked up. It's rough. It also forced a lot of other makeup companies to look at what Rihanna was doing and realize that not only were their marketing tactics racist, but that they really had to step their pussies up to get in line with Rihanna. Also remember, this is literally her first makeup line ever, and she's setting a standard. It's very impressive. Another thing that you should really remember is that Sephora, which is a makeup giant, is actually owned by LVMH. So if you think about it, Fenty Beauty was only being sold in Sephora's. Now, if you guys don't know a lot about LVMH, you should probably watch my Michael Kors video. It gives a pretty good summary of the conglomerate. But since LVMH owns Sephora, they funnel a lot of their LVMH brand makeup into the store. So Dior, Givenchy, and a lot are sold almost exclusively at places like Sephora. So Rihanna being in bed with Sephora is kind of like her being in bed with LVMH. And considering that during Raf Simons' tenure at Dior, she was showing up at almost all of the shows and literally making Raf look amazing, I think that there's really a connection there. But moving on from my LVMH Sephora conspiracy, let's talk about Savage x Fenty. So Savage is a lingerie company that I didn't know much about, but essentially Rihanna pretty much put it on the map by doing a collaboration under the name Fenty. Fenty is really key here, people. The show this season really was powerful. It was probably one of the most expected shows of the season, obviously. And there really was some drama that was being stirred up by nobody but yours truly about how Rihanna was actually taking the last spot on the New York Fashion Week calendar, which was previously and always held by Marc Jacobs, who was owned by LVMH. So Marc had a show that was 2 hours late, which was the first time that happened in 10 years. And essentially everybody was like, oh my God, he's plotting to take down Riri. And Riri was like, bitch, I don't give a fuck. Cause what had happened was Slick Woods, the famous model, essentially was in labor whilst walking the runway and then literally gave birth to a baby after she finished walking the show. Sorry, Marc Jacobs, like, girl, the collection was good this season, but like, you can't beat a baby on the runway, you know? Savage x Fenty, again, was something that was revolutionary because it included multiple sizes and had a super diverse cast of models. So Rihanna, again, can really do no wrong. Another really interesting thing is that Nicola Formichetti, who is the creative director of Louis Vuitton Women's, actually has been reported to be getting his own luxury brand under his own name, sponsored by nobody but LVMH. So that kind of means that LVMH has money to insert into new brands. Now, I know a lot of people are gonna be upset about the fact that Rihanna is in fact being reported to be getting a luxury brand with literally no design experience. Now, the thing is, often on HauteLeMode and often in the young fashion community, people expect designers, people who have studied design, people who have worked in design houses, people who have actually made amazing products, to be given money to start a brand that will jumpstart their career and maybe even create a legacy brand that we will all look to in 100, 150 years if we're still on the earth and not all dead from climate change, okay? Sorry, that climate change anxiety is really like getting to me. It just pops up, you know? So the idea of Rihanna, who's pretty successful in her own right, would be getting a brand I can see really pissing some people off, and I understand why. But I also think it's important that we talk about the fact that while Rihanna was at Fenty x Puma, it was reported from what I've heard from industry sources that some of the newest and coolest brand designers and founders actually got their start under Fenty x Puma. So it's not all bad. But think about it this way. If Rihanna is doing a brand and somebody has to be her head of design or head of the creative studio, they're gonna get paid a lot of money because it's under the LVMH brand. That money might help them jumpstart their own brand, and we might actually kill two birds with one stone. So don't think about it as an all bad experience. Another important thing to note is that LVMH is a luxury conglomerate. Almost every single brand that they own costs a lot of fucking money. But the one brand that didn't actually cost that much money was Marc Jacobs. Well, Marc by Marc Jacobs. Marc by Marc Jacobs was actually reported to be the moneymaker in the Marc Jacobs family. But when Marc by Marc Jacobs was actually dissolved in order to combine the Marc Jacobs brand and make it more diverse, it seemed like the brand sort of started to go downhill. And I'm not saying the creative direction, but like the idea of Marc Jacobs and the products as well. From what I've heard, there might be talks about bringing Marc by Marc Jacobs back, and considering that the whole Balenciaga making hats, t-shirts, and all of those things luxury products, The idea of Rihanna actually having semi-affordable luxury fashion items isn't really that weird to think about. So, you know what, we might actually all be able to afford this Rihanna Fenty line. So, you know what, crossing my fingers, hoping it happens, and I'm hoping it's cute, and I don't doubt that it will be. The final important thing to note is that Rihanna would be the first Black woman to have an actual fashion brand under the LVMH umbrella named after her. This is important. I mean, think about it. Virgil Abloh is the first Black male to actually be at the helm of a brand, especially considering it's one of the biggest brands for LVMH, Louis Vuitton. So this is important. It's going to allow a lot of people to realize that they can actually reach a point where they could be given their own brand. Maybe, you know, they're gonna skip the part where they're a singer and an actress and doing a bunch of other fashion collaborations, but they have the ability to really start something that people will love. All in all, I'm actually kind of excited. If any celebrity was gonna get an LVMH brand, I'd want it to be Rihanna. And considering there's not really much we can do about it, considering I don't have Bernard Arnault's direct telephone number, it's probably gonna happen and we're just gonna have to deal with it. But if it's good, we'll be able to deal with it like with cute clothes, you know? I'd love to hear all your guys' thoughts about this. This could be one of the biggest and most revolutionary things to happen in the luxury fashion sector in hundreds of years. So I really do want to hear what you guys have to say. I really hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I will see you guys on the next video. So TTYL.